They were home, their children were sleeping, and the door opened to someone they once trusted. In the early hours of the morning, Monique and Spencer Tepe were unalived inside their Ohio home, leaving their young children alone in silence for hours. One of them, just 17 months old, waited in a crib with no one coming. This is the story of a house that went quiet, told through the whispers of the taken. They vanish without warning. Lives are shattered, yet the world moves on as if nothing happened. Some stories refuse to fade, echoing long after the headlines disappear. In Season 2, we dig deeper, uncovering the hidden truths behind the whispers of the taken. The hours before, a life still in motion. On the evening before everything ended, Monique and Spencer Tepe were doing what countless families do every night, moving through routine, the kind of ordinary moments no one ever thinks to memorize. Their home in Columbus, Ohio, was not a place of chaos. It was a place built for children, toys scattered across floors, a crib in one room, a small bed in another. The evidence of life still actively being lived. Spencer, a dentist, was expected at work the next morning. His absence would later become the first sign that something was terribly wrong. Monique, a mother of two, was navigating life after divorce, building something new with her husband while co-parenting children who depended on stability. Nothing publicly suggests there was a confrontation that night. No reported argument, no frantic calls to police, no neighbors hearing raised voices, which makes what happened next all the more unsettling. Late night/early morning. A familiar face approaches. Sometime in the early morning hours, when most of the city was asleep, someone approached the Tepe home. Police would later say there were no signs of forced entry. That detail matters. It suggests familiarity, recognition. A door opened willingly, or at least without fear. Whoever entered that house did not need to break their way in. They were either expected or trusted enough not to be questioned in the moment. Investigators would later name Monique's ex-husband as the suspect, a man who knew the house, the layout, the routines, a man who did not need directions in the dark. Surveillance footage from the area would later place a person of interest near the home during the overnight hours. But what happened inside remains known only through aftermath. Moments that can't be undone. What is known is devastatingly simple. Monique and Spencer were unalived by gunfire inside their home. There has been no public confirmation of a prolonged struggle, no reports of defensive wounds released, no evidence of a chaotic fight spilling into the street. This appears to have been controlled, deliberate, and fast. 2 adults were taken from their children while those children were still in the house. One of those children, a 17-month-old baby, was likely in his crib at the time, a child too young to understand noise, violence, or silence, a child who could not call for help. Another child, only 4 years old, was also present. They were not harmed physically, but the damage done to them is permanent. After the gunfire, the house left breathing without its parents. When the violence ended, the suspect left. The house did not. It remained, holding 2 lives gone still, and 2 children who were still alive inside. Hours passed. No one came. Morning arrived. Sunlight touched the windows of a house that should have been waking up. Breakfast should have been made. Shoes should have been put on. A dentist should have gone to work. Instead, silence settled in. The baby cried. At some point, someone outside heard it. The first alarm. That something wasn't right. When Spencer didn't show up for work, concern grew quickly. This was not normal for him. Colleagues tried calling. No answer. A welfare check was requested. Police arrived at the home mid-morning. At first, there was no response at the door. No one answered. The house appeared quiet, but neighbors and passers-by reported hearing children crying inside. That changed everything. Officers made entry. The moment the truth was found. Inside the home, police found Monique and Spencer upstairs. Both had been fatally shot. They were pronounced dead at the scene. Downstairs, their children were alive. A baby who had likely been alone in his crib for hours. A 4-year-old who had endured a night no child should ever survive. The house became a crime scene. Tape went up. Neighbors gathered. Parents held their own children tighter. And 2 young lives were abruptly redirected forever. The investigation begins, and a suspect emerges. Almost immediately, attention turned to Monique's ex-husband. Investigators cited lack of forced entry, prior tension reported by family members, surveillance footage placing a vehicle and individual of interest nearby travel records suggesting movement from out of state. This was not random. This was targeted. Weeks later, after an extensive search, the suspect was arrested in Illinois. Authorities announced they believed the crime had been planned, not spontaneous. Charges followed: aggravated murder, burglary. A court would decide guilt, but the facts already told a darker truth. What the timeline can't capture. A timeline can tell you when things happened. It cannot tell you what Monique thought when she recognized the person at her door, whether Spencer tried to protect his family, how long the children waited in confusion and fear, what it means to grow up knowing your parents never came back. Those details live in silence. A life divided into before and after. The children were placed with family. The house was emptied. 2 names were added to the long list of people unalived by someone they once trusted. And a community was left asking the same question that follows every domestic tragedy. How did it get here? A closing reflection. This was not a crime of passion. It was not a momentary loss of control. It was a decision, carried into a home where children slept. And now, long after the gunshots faded, what remains is absence. 2 parents gone, 2 children left to grow up with unanswered questions, and a quiet house that will never feel the same again. These are the stories that don't end when the headlines fade. They linger, they ache, they whisper, and this one will always be remembered, the hidden truths in the whispers of the taken.